artists do stuff all the time because they're just upset.
Correct.
But let's make it real for you, Dame. If Hobson did that just to say "F you, Dame," would he outsell the original versions? If he,
that's what I'm saying. That's not going to work.
It's possible.
Right now, you think so? However, Taylor Swift has, I think, changed the paradigm quite a bit over the last few years. I don't know how far-reaching it has been, but there's a lot going on, and Aaron is on it. Aaron is our official Swiftie correspondent today.
That's hilarious. What you just said actually spun this in a new direction for me, because you said, I never even thought about this. You said Drake going independent. And now that I'm thinking about this, Taylor re-recording her music is her going indie, but she's still signed to a major. So I'm now confused how that works. I have not been viewing this through that at all. So just to fly over for those who may have been hearing but don't exactly know, Taylor Swift, Scooter Braun bought Big Machine, which Taylor Swift was signed to. And when he bought Big Machine, in essence, it purchased her masters. Because she was a multi-millionaire at the time, she requested that she buy her masters back from the label or back from Scooter Braun. Either sell me back my masters before the sale happens to Scooter Braun, or Scooter Braun, after you buy the label, I'll give you a fair market price for my masters. Essentially, money's not an issue. Whatever you feel like it's worth, let me have my masters. And I don't know the temperature, but for all intents and purposes, Scooter Braun was like, absolutely not. The reason I'm buying your label is for your masters, which I understand, right? So fair, unfair, I think there's an ethics conversation there, but I can't judge that because I don't know, what were the contracts, all those things. So he buys it. Apparently there's some back and forth for several months after he buys the label and masters. She's trying to convince him. Apparently she also offered him way over market speculation. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I've heard a lot of things around that. Inevitably, she doesn't get her masters back from Big Machine. So she goes on a smear campaign of Scooter Braun, painting him as the big bad wolf, which is Scooter Braun's the terrible guy. I hate him. She goes on this whole campaign. What I'm going to do is re-release my music, right? So she goes and re-records her first 6 albums. That's what she's been doing over the last 2 years. And because I think she's an exceptional marketer, it's not just I re-recorded my albums and dropped them. When she first announced that she was going to do it, I didn't think it was going to make much of a difference because most people are looking for album covers or songs that they know. When I go back and listen to artist tracks, when I'm going back to listen to Outkast, Outkast just 2 days ago had the 23-year anniversary of ATLian, which is, you know what I'm saying? Or was it ATLian?
23 years?
It wasn't ATLian. It was what's the one with Fresh and Clean on it? The Black and White album. Anyways, I'm a bad Outkast fan now.
I'm floored by the years that have gone by. Damn.
Yeah, it's 23 years. It was released in 2000, October 30th, 2000. So I go back and I look for the album covers and I hit play, right? So when she announced that she was re-releasing her music, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Her super core fan base will respond to that. It's not going to make a difference. What Taylor did was she built this big monster out of Scooter Braun. And again, I'm not saying that's either truth or false, but she built the monster. And then with every album that she dropped, she connected it to the monster who stole from her and to some momentous moment in her life or the fans that made it. So anyways, now Taylor Swift allegedly owns 80% of her recorded music, or of her new masters, right? I did some digging, could not find anything to substantiate that. However, if you're looking at face value, she re-recorded her 6 albums and she herself owns the masters to that. It's about 80% of her music revenue. I was reading in Billboard, they said that her re-recordings are generating billions yearly right now, billions of streams yearly, not money, sorry, billions of streams yearly already. So she has just gotten off her Eras tour, which is genius. So she re-recorded most of her albums and then she went and toured her albums. And so people are going back and listening. And this is like multi-night, massive arenas, massive amounts of people. She did 7 nights in Nashville at Brickstone Arena and they had to open up there. It was, anyways, massive, 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 massive. So that's what we're diving into. I just want to give people context of why this matters to independent artists or newly signed artists, because sometimes we, again, kind of going back to what Dane was saying, I don't know if we recorded that, but right when we started, he was saying he wants to go back through the comments. My thing is I'm championing for independent music, independent artists. We all are, but I want to reflect on how big business affects us. I think sometimes as people, as creators, we put our head down. We're like, oh, whatever. Taylor Swift's a millionaire. She's making billions a year on music. I don't care how that affects me. Her re-recording her music right now has made the major labels say, okay, we're going to ensure that we will never get screwed in this way. So all of the contracts are now changing with major record labels to say, if typically they say after your album cycle is done, you can't re-record your music until like for the next 2 years or until the album recoups, or there's just different stipulations in there. There are several other artists who have re-recorded their music before. This is not something new. It's just never been this loud. Like Frank Sinatra re-recorded a lot of his music back in the his music from the 40s and 50s, he re-recorded in the 60s and was putting on like super compilations. Even Ashanti recently, when she did her NFT project, she re-recorded some of her biggest hits and put it out as an NFT so that she could own the full rights to re-release it. So this is I would say standard practice for bigger artists, especially artists who are about their business. They may re-record 1 or 2 of their major hits so that they can get more money from the original or from the master, right? So with the major labels now saying it's not going to be a full album cycle or 2 album cycles, they're saying it's going to be 10, 15, and sometimes 30 years. So the articles that I've been reading have been lawyers weighing in on it, saying as soon as they started seeing it about a year ago, they gave major pushback. Like, yo, what is this? This has never been in the contracts. Why are we willing to say we're going to sign with the same label that we've been signing with for years? I've done 100 deals with this major record label, but now you have this new clause in there that they can't re-record their music for 10, 15, or 30 years. And it's indicative of how the music industry is shifting and changing, because now if you look at the autonomy of, to me, major label artists are limited in autonomy because they have limited say over where their masters go. Now, to that, what degree, I don't know. Because some artists, if you're a bigger artist, if you have massive success, you have more say. But at face value, when you're signing with a label, this is one of the lawyers was saying, he represents a major independent artist. He went into to negotiate the contract, and this was essentially the deal breaker because this indie artist is coming in with a ton of autonomy already. They're looking for a partnership with the label, and the label's like, yeah, we'll give you the upfront money. Just remember, if anything ever goes south, we own these masters, and you have no rights to even re-record the music that you've created and re-release it. So that's kind of the place that I want to have this discussion. I would
in a
love
partnership deal, they're taking ownership of the masters.
So the lawyer didn't go into specifics of the deal, but he was basically, I think, calling it a partnership because he was saying he represented a major independent artist. So typically, when indies are like really big and they're signing to a major label, they're not signing a traditional label deal. So I think that's what he was alluding to. He didn't say what type of partnership. I don't know if it was like a Russ 50-50 deal or if it was just him calling it, even if it's a one-off album deal, it's still a strategic partnership. So I think that's where it's like, even if I'm an independent artist, like I recently represented an independent artist. He was pretty big. He signed for one album, but the label got the rights to the last two albums for like 2 or 3 years. To me, that's still a partnership. He got more of a traditional deal, nothing crazy on the percentages, but they gave him a big, they front loaded him with they gave him a big advance and signing bonus. So I think partnership is fluid. They didn't go into the specifics of the deal. They didn't even talk about who the artist was, obviously. So I think that if we're looking at the landscape of music and how this affects independent artists, it really affects independent artists who are looking to sign or who are looking to do partnerships with people. But it also affects the intellectual property conversation too, which is what I'm always coming back to. Like, what is the value of a song? How can artists derive as much value from the art that they're creating? And what does the future of the music industry look like? Because as Dame always says, the labels aren't going anywhere. They're going to be here and we're going to have to play ball with them. So what has Taylor Swift now done to the landscape of music? I think this will be a huge implication for the future of music at large indefinitely.
I mean, I kind of have mixed feelings about stuff like that. I feel like if a deal is fair up front, well, let me take a step back. So I'm assuming, labels this was kind of was it mostly kind of a loophole that artists found? Like labels didn't really look at it because they didn't even realize it because they just assumed it would be too expensive to re-record. And now it's like easier to re-record stuff. It's a lot cheaper to re-record stuff. Like, is that one of the reasons why this is more of a thing? Because people can re-record a lot cheaper than they used to be able to?
I don't think it's necessarily about the price of re-recording, because I think, again, like back when Frank Sinatra was doing it, like price was relative to him when he did it in the 60s, because it's like, it doesn't matter. He's Frank Sinatra. He can afford to do this. And I think that major artists or artists signed to major labels would only be interested in re-recording if the song had grossed large amounts of money. So I don't think it's a cost prohibitive thing. Like, I don't think it has to do with the cost of music being easier or that being accessible. I think it's more about the knowledge or the understanding of the implications of that. Like, even when Ashanti did it in 2020, I was like, oh, I never thought about artists re-recording. And then I looked into it more, and I saw that a lot of the re-recordings were either new partnerships with a smaller label or a bigger label, or it was the artist independently doing it. So I think it was just less common because most people a lot of artists of the 80s and 90s, I think, didn't understand I can re-record my music, re-release it and get paid from it.
Well, I mean, I just think it needs to be part of the discussion if it's going to happen more, right? Because as a former label owner, I'd be pissed if a few years down the road, artists just started re-recording their shit and re-releasing it, and all the money and time that I invested into these projects, thinking it was an investment for me. Now all of that value gets eroded because these artists decided to re-record. To me, that's not fair, but it all depends on, it's probably a case by case in terms of what the initial agreement was. I always felt like our deals were fair, and fair changes over time, right? You might look at our deals now, and be like, oh, that's not fair, but that's not fair in 2023. In 2011, 2012, 2013, it was more than fair, right? So I think it's a complex conversation, but I do think it could be messed up for label owners if they treated their artists right. The deals were on the up and up. Everybody knew what they were getting into. And then a few years down the road, an artist gets upset or whatever, and F that, I'm just going to turn the fans against the label. I'm going to re-record these albums and put them out. There are probably many situations where it could be messed up from a label standpoint. So I don't know if I can just comment blanketly. I would have to just look at each case. I don't know what Scooter Braun did. I don't know all the details of Taylor Swift's situation. All I know is I listened to her. I don't really know her music like that, and I listened to some of her songs. And you probably know some Taylor Swift song. You didn't know it was hers. I think her music is pretty mediocre. So I want to study what she's done to get so big, because I listen to the song, like they not complex at all. Like they're very simple. Like at least the ones I heard.
I can give you the Taylor Swift formula, because I'm like, I came up as a Swiftie and then I kind of got away from it. Her thing is, and this is what I'm saying, I think she's a marketing genius. Taylor Swift's thing is, I'm going to paint somebody as the bad guy. I will now become the victim. I'm going to align with all the people who share the same victim story. So like when she dropped 16,
that sound like a Hobson formula. That's
well, but I mean, it works. Like when she dropped Sweet 16, like me and Taylor Swift are the same age, or like she's a year older than me, I think. So when she dropped that album, she's talking about the boys bullying her at school, the love of her life, breaking up with her, yada, yada, yada. So as like a 16-year-old girl in high school, I'm like, yeah. Then she drops 18, and 18, she's talking about da, 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 da. Then she drops 22 and she drops Red. And it's always, and the thing is, as she grows in prowess, the people that she's dating are celebrities. So now it turns into this whole, so even right now she's dating Travis Kelce of the Chiefs. And is it Travis? I don't know.
Travis Kelce.
Kelsey, whatever. I don't watch football. I know because of Taylor Swift, and it's a whole thing. Like, whatever. I'm just saying, she's a strategic marketer. So even down to her painting Scooter Braun, and I say painting not because I'm choosing a side, because I think, I don't know, but her painting Scooter Braun as the foe plays into her whole brand archetype as, I've always been left out, discontented, people don't like me, I'm the underdog. And I'm like, damn, she rode the underdog story to making a $1 billion tour, which is genius, but that's her formula. So like, I'm nervous about the Swifties coming for that soundbite with you, Dame, saying you feel like Taylor Swift is a mediocre artist.
They could cut, like, if you, because I just compare her and let's just say Beyonce, and just listen to the music, the music of it. Like the production of a Beyonce song is like so full, and a lot of time, I mean, she got some simple songs too, but like in the songs I've heard, and
I'm going to refrain from saying what I want to say, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Even the performance, like Beyonce running around the stage, you know, all this stuff, and then I see Taylor Swift, she's just like these little simple dance moves. I'm like, yo, this is.
I mean, all of the Beehive is saying this online right now. And like, I mean, they're saying it. I'm with you. I'm just saying, as it stands from a marketing standpoint, she's a genius in the way that she places herself. She consistently places herself as the victim. So and this is not me, I don't want to, because I don't want to sound like I'm coming for Taylor Swift. I'm not. I'm just looking at her brand archetype and where she aligns herself. When you get to the point that you're a multi-millionaire, your bully has to be the industry now. It can no longer be a guy broke my heart or this celebrity said this mean thing to me. Now your alignment has to be massive. So I think that it's really genius that she's aligned herself with saying, I'm taking on first Scooter Braun. Now she's saying, I'm taking on the music industry. Do you know what I'm saying? And so like, that's where that's how she rallies. So going back to your specific point of view saying, I would be pissed. I don't think most artists have the capabilities of doing this. This is literally a culmination of her whole career. She's done a really great job of rallying her fan base and bringing them into her story, even with her documentaries dropping, all these different things. So again, I'm not even seeing. I don't even know if like a Travis Scott could re-release his albums. And even though he's a massive artist, I don't see him re-releasing and people being like, I'm gonna listen to Travis re-releases. I think it really, really is. And maybe I'm wrong. You're right. That's like they have never mind.
I feel like if you time it right, let's just say it's a 10-year anniversary, right? A 10-year anniversary, you get a lot of excitement around this re-release. Release it with a few new songs, some throwback footage. I mean, I think even a large independent artist could drum up enough support.
You're thinking from a marketing perspective. I'm just saying, I don't think the vast majority of artists are going to like put that type of energy into it right now until Taylor Swift gave the prototype. So I think that's why I'm saying it's reflective of how she's changing the industry, because now labels are getting scared like, yo, what does this look like for us, for our bigger fish? And then when independent artists are coming in, independent artists, to me, naturally are coming with a lot more creativity. And so now if they're like, yeah, like I'm going to come take this dinner with the label, I'm going to take them financing my career for the next couple of years. When I get off the major, like I'm just going to go re-record. So I'm with you to a degree. I'm just saying, I think that it has more implications for independent artists than it does for major label artists, because I don't know if everybody's going to feed into, let me recreate something so that I make more money, you know?
Well, let me ask you this, because it also has to do with the artist, the type of music they make. I think, let's use Beyonce as an example. She could turn around and re-record some of her music.
Beyonce.
But one, she's Beyonce. She's up here, and in terms of fame and notoriety, she's up there at the, Taylor Swift, her, Drake, they're all in that same category of elites. Now, would Beyonce just completely remake Get Me Bodied so it sounds exactly like the original version, and that would excite people? No, because it's just going to sound the same. So maybe she'd create like a house version or an acoustic version, something to throw people off. I feel like with the rap genre, that's harder to do. If you brought up Travis Scott, in the sense that, like, no. So if Travis Scott wanted to remake Antidote, right? He wanted to re-release it, but he had to recreate the master. He had to create a new master so that he could do it independently. Like, let's say in the future, Travis Scott is independent. He's still pretty famous, and he wants to do like a 10-year thing. So he wants to recreate one of his first massive hits. It would be more complicated because he can't really recreate the beat the same way. The beat contains a sample, and the beat is owned by the label. So somehow that the producers, Wonder Girl and Eastbound, would have to somehow get out of their agreement with the label. It feels like there would be more red tape.
I don't think so. Because independent labels, when they can't afford a record from a producer, they'll just hit up their producers and be like, hey, I need you to make something that sounds very similar to this, right?
Oh yeah, no, they could, but I don't think the fans would want. I mean, the thing with the Taylor Swift effect is that her re-recorded versions of her old material are outselling the original versions.
Wait, so hold on. What did Taylor Swift, like, they just replayed the same songs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the other
and she can sing a little bit better now than she could back then. And then mastering, like, for somebody who's sonically tuned, it's mixed and mastered better. It's like more of I wouldn't say it's like a Atmos sound compared to like a standard, but it's different. Like, you can hear that it's a more balanced sound.
And AI is probably going to make this extremely easy in the very near future to just, replicate masters or redo songs. I just think it's a fair thing to have part of the conversation, but it should be transparent on if and when you can do it, right? Because it shouldn't be something that somebody just finds a loophole, and when somebody gets mad, they take advantage of that loophole.
I just don't think it's going to work for everybody, because when you consider, like, let's look, and I think it's going to work for very few people. Let's say Russ decided, all right, all the stuff on Columbia, I'm going to re-record so I can release it independently. He's putting out so much music now that people love. Why would he do that? It wouldn't benefit him to revisit the game, right? The game is independent.
artists would do it as just a big fu to whoever they were working with. Like they don't put that, but like artists do stuff all the time because they're just upset.
Correct.
No, they do.
Correct.
And their ego just gets the best of it, right?
Well,
like,
but let's make it real for you, Dame. If Hobson did that just to say "F you, Dame," would he outsell the original versions if he?
That's what I'm saying. That's not going to work.
It's possible.
Right now, you think so?
He doesn't even have a fraction of the amount of fans that he had. People who are listening to Hobson deep cuts are not like following Hobson right now. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like they're not even going to know that he re-released.
No, but Hobson is the perfect kind of artist that can do this, because even though he hasn't like gotten that many new fans, like this core audience is locked in and they're still locked into what he's doing. So if he can do the same thing that Taylor Swift has always done, find another bad guy and be like, to rally the community to start doing that, he still has that kind of pull with his community because he's locked in. They're like Eminem stands. So they're not going anywhere.
Well, you would still be the bad guy, Dame, just to be clear. It would just be that now he has a legal way to get back at you. And so he
has his master's back. So like that's not a thing with me. I just want people.
Well, yeah, because you're a good dude, but you know, like
I want people listening to this being like, oh, he's just saying that because he wants to stop hot. Like, nah, he has his master's back. And so does Dizzy, and I'm trying to get Jaren's his too. So people were probably already like mid comment listening to this, you know, as they're listening to it on YouTube before I just said what I said, and they probably need to delete what they just typed because
they won't. They'll post it.
They'll post it anyway. So
they're not gonna listen to the whole soundbite.
But the point is, I just don't think you can recapture that moment unless you're on an upward trajectory. You and not even we're not even talking about recapturing the moment. We're talking about recreating the moment and amplifying it. And that's what Taylor's doing. She did it in such a way at such an auspicious time. It's the same way with like the NFTs where people are like, Tory Lanez sold 1 million copies of his NFT album in 5 minutes or whatever. This is the future. Okay, try and see what happens. You're not going to get anywhere near that. There's no way. People just look at this, you know, and I don't think
if we don't think artists can do this, why are we talking about it? Like, what's the
because the implication is that the music business, the labels, it's the 3 major labels, it's Sony, Warner, and Universal, that are obviously fearful of this happening. And so now they're changing their entire record deal structures to include this anti-Taylor Swift stipulation in there. I think it's interesting given that, I mean, I wonder how much they're losing or how much they feel they're losing from what Taylor Swift is doing for them to take this kind of swift, no pun intended, and decisive action.
But it's just it's not that, it doesn't cost them any additional money to start protecting themselves against this, right? I'm sure, like I would be curious to know like how much Scooter lost or how much his company lost, because they took a huge L. It sounds like.
They lost the PR war, and that's the thing. Someone like Taylor Swift can do
not just the PR. It hit,
and it's money too. It's money too. But it again, as Aaron stated, if Taylor didn't have hearts and minds on her side, this wouldn't have been effective. So PR is a necessary component.
Yeah, I'm like sitting right between the two of y'all. I do believe that some artists can do this, Payne, and I think it would make a difference. My point is just because I feel like as a super fan, like if SZA were to re-release her entire discography with new production, I'm listening. And if it's good, I'm running it back Like when I'm a fan of somebody, I'm a fan. So I think I hear what you're saying, Dame, as far as like the hops and re-releases. I'm just saying I think it's more of a, back to what Payne's saying, it's more of a PR thing, because that, like, okay, Def Leppard, their back catalog still streams incredibly, but they re-released some of their greatest hits and it was like nominal. That's what the article was talking about, how there's been so many like it's not uncommon for a legacy artist or artist with a huge catalog and a really big fan base to re-release some of their music. That's not an uncommon thing. So for the major labels to now be like, oh shoot, we're about to change the contracts that have been in place for 30 years, that is indicative of how influential Taylor Swift is being to the music industry right now. And I'm with you about having a transparent conversation. The thing that's scary is that the labels can now just say, anytime somebody does something, we're going to change. Yes, protection, but I feel like it's always just this like abusive structure. You saying I can't re-record the music that I created for 30 years is insane to me. That's insane, especially if you're not giving me a great revenue share off the beginning, because you're saying, well, we're coming with all of the money. It's like you're coming with money. Yes, but like, to what end does that money, am I owing you my entire livelihood, my future? Like, I'm already giving you my intellectual property and you're like, for a license, so to speak. But now you're telling me essentially, for as long as you're able to potentially re-record it in good faith, you have no option to do that. So that's why I think it's necessary that we bring this up. But I would love to discuss like how much of a loss Scooter Braun took on. They're saying it's out, like all of her music is out streaming her original music. I still think her original music though is probably streaming incredibly, because people, like, we always talk about, fans don't really know the business. So yeah, Taylor dropped the re-releases, but like soccer moms, like 30 and 40-year-old soccer moms right now aren't like, let me go get the re-release. They're like, Taylor's on the Eras tour, I'm going to go listen to my favorite era of Taylor. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I know Scooter took a loss for sure, but I feel like they're
probably listening to the re-release too, because a lot of that stuff will start to be algorithmic, right? Like, yeah, they're probably just putting on like Taylor Swift's radio on Spotify, right?
And they want to support her though too, because they love her, hearts and minds. I'm saying,
like, I only know about, like, I used to be a Swiftie. I only know about Taylor Swift re-releasing because I work in the music industry. Yeah. If I go to my favorites right now, the Red album is saved. The Red album is what's owned by Big Machine, now Scooter Braun. If I go back to stream Taylor Swift, I'm never going to be like, let me go on Taylor Swift's profile, most recent re-release of Red. You know what I'm saying?
How come you're not a Swiftie anymore?
Because I got tired of the narrative. Like, yeah, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, but it's like, it was like, I started seeing what I was being gamed on. I'm like, everybody's bad. You're still the victim as a multi-millionaire woman. Like, and I'm not saying, again, women get treated terribly in this industry. So I don't care if you're Beyonce, you know what I'm saying? There's injustice, but it just like, I just got really tired of the narrative. And then also again, I mean, I'm with you, Dave, the quality of music. By the time I was like 22, 23, I'm like, damn, like for real, like it was cool when I was young, but after a while, yeah.
Hank could make her beats in like 3 minutes. Like, I promise.
You know what though? That kind of thing blows my mind a lot, where I listen to a lot of, I mean, even Beyonce to an extent. Like, I listen to Cuff It and I'm like, okay, that chord progression isn't hard. When you listen to music that sounds big and amazing, not always. Sometimes there's some stuff that blows my mind on the opposite end of the spectrum. But a lot of times when I put my producer ears on and not my music lover ears on, and I'm listening and breaking stuff down, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? That's so simple, yet it's so honed and effective. I think it's harder to make something simple stick in your ears like that. Because, yeah, I mean, All Too Well, for example, then that was a huge record. it's a very simple 4-chord turnaround. The stuff she's doing melodically is kind of where, it's not impressive in the sense of like, she's not going to win American Idol doing that. But from a songwriter's perspective, it's incredibly catchy. And that's what a lot of music is. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, I don't even like Drake anymore. And it's like, yeah, but can you do it in the way that he does it?
I mean, I get that. I'm just not the target demographic. I've never, like, again, if you ask me to, I literally, and I'm not even trying to be funny, like, I can't name one of her songs. Like, if I heard it, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's Taylor. But I don't know the name of not a single song. So this is new.
See, that's because your age. It's showing a little bit.
You don't even know Teardrops on My Guitar, Dame. Even I know that.
No, I have no idea what song that is. I promise you. Like, so I listen to the music as she's become more into like football and stuff. Like, I didn't listen to a lot of the music. I just listened to a few songs, and my wife had to let me know, like, oh, that one is Taylor Swift. And I listened to it. I'm just like, all right.
So I'm stressed because I would love to share my theory, but I think it's like one of her key producers is Jack Antonoff, which I really rock with him. He had the band Fun. They had a run back in like the mid, like 2010, 2014. They were like new artists of the year. I think it was like 2014, but they had been a band for like 10 years. And he was like, everybody was like pissed. Anyways, I think that's his name, Jack Antonoff, I think. Yeah. So I think he's actually like his production for Fun, complex, interesting, like integrated, very unique. I thought it was interesting. I think it has to be so simple for Taylor because she's not a good singer. So I feel like she's way more into like, what do you call it? Vocal tuning or whatever now. But when she first came out, it was like, I won't say dry vocals on a track, but it was way less production on her voice. So I was like simple. It was her on her guitar. They would add a few drums and the story was kind of like Teardrops on My Guitar. It's like kind of like this country girl is making her own music, making her way in life. When she moved over into pop, the music had to be more progressive and intricate. But I just feel like I think there's a value in simplicity. So I don't want people to hear this. And then I also have a thing for people who sing but can't really sing, like especially when it comes to like male R&B artists, like Frank Ocean. Like Frank Ocean's tone is what sells, not his incredible vocal prowess, right? Like he can even Chance the Rapper. When Chance the Rapper can't really sing, but when he sings and there's heart, so it's not about, I don't need everybody to be the best vocalist ever, right? My favorite R&B woman to this day right now is Rihanna, and she's not vocally like Jasmine Sullivan is in, you know what I'm saying? So I want to make this distinction. But I think because, Lord, please don't let the Swifties clip this up. I think because Taylor Swift really can't sing that well, there's only so far that you can go with her music, or else it won't sound like Taylor Swift anymore because they'll have to overproduce her voice to fit really incredible production. I also think that's why she doesn't do like features like most artists do. You know, like at her point in her career, people as big as her have done major features. But I think her voice only works in certain production, in certain contexts. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's also part of the allure of Taylor Swift. It's like, she's an average looking white woman, average build. It's like she's just your average everyday girl. And now she's like this global superstar because it's relatable. Like everybody can belt at the top of their voice and sound kind of like Taylor Swift. Like I used to love singing her songs because I didn't sound terrible singing them. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that that's like part of the whole thing that's created who she is. She's like the every woman.
I mean, I understand. It makes sense. I was just giving my kind of like my first impression after like listening on purpose to some of her songs. But
you listen because she's now in the football circles, right?
Yeah. Well, no.
Incredible marketing.
No, I don't know if that's what like it was the tours actually. It was the tour because she was like selling out like multiple days pretty much in every single city. And I was like, let me listen to a couple of these songs. The football stuff I think is ridiculous. Um, but you know, but it's good for Travis too. Travis is getting, he was
He's a
already,
podcaster, right?
yeah, he's very good at it. Him and his brother are
Genius.
really good at it. His brother is
Yeah,
really good at it. He's a lot of women think he's a good looking white dude. Like
he's very attractive.
he's got a lot of charisma, a lot of personality. So he was already getting brand deals prior to, but I'm sure it's just gonna kind of take his brand and open up so many other doors for him as well. But him and his brother do a really good job on their podcast if you're into football. And I'm not even like heavy into football like that, but their podcast is dope.
I
So
should check it
Aaron,
out.
the guy is Jeff Basker. He produced Fun's most successful album. So he produced the song with Janelle Monáe, the one that just got huge. And he also is working on Taylor Swift's newer albums, like the Red Taylor's version. And
That's not who I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about Jack Antonoff.
Oh, he was working on Taylor Swift's album too?
Because they just released they just released a single song exclusive to Target on vinyl this week, and it's like you can only get it, but he's co-produced like I think like 40% of her songs since they've worked together.
Oh, you're right. Oh, and he's co-writing and producing Taylor Swift and Lorde, actually. Okay. Damn, a lot of people came out of
And then you compare Lorde is still sparse production wise, but
Very.
because she has a voice, it's like this it's a difference between, I'm not going to call it low quality, but it's like hers is sparse, whereas I don't know, I don't want to go into this, but
Well, I think it's all, I mean, musically speaking, it's simple. I'm of the, because I've gone all over the place with my stance on production, whereas I thought when I was first starting to learn to produce, especially pop and complex hip hop, had to have a lot going on musically, a lot going on sonically, and that's just not the case. Most pop is really simple, and most classic songs of all genres are pretty simple. Even classical music, the memorable parts that everybody loves are the simplest, catchiest parts, and it's just kind of always been that way. So when I'm looking at Jack Antonoff's discography as well as Jeff Basker's, and I'm like, all these songs are hits. When you break down the songs themselves, the genius and the simplicity are intrinsically linked. And when I break down most classic hit records, it's, I talk to people all the time, and in the music producer community, and they're always lamenting how simple everything is, and it's like, you just don't understand the nuances of a song, the anatomy of a good song. You're not listening analytically, because if you did, the conversation wouldn't be about simple versus complex. It would be about effective versus ineffective.
Yeah, and don't get like, so I understand that piece, and I'm sure there's already a comment that about what I said about simple, because
I'm typing it right now.
A lot of the songs that, let me date myself, like like Cupid, or Cupid from 112.
Yeah, very simple.
Or Good Love by Jodeci. Like a lot of these songs are God's Plan is probably a simple beat. Like I get that, right? But it's not even just that it's simple. When I hear it, and again, I'm not the target audience, like it sounds not just simple, but like very cookie cutter. Like this the same song I heard Katy Perry sing, or this the same song. Like
that's what her fans need. You got to think it was 16-year-old girls trying to learn how to play the guitar. Then it was 22-year-old angsty women. Now it's 35-year-old soccer moms. Like, that's what they need.
Is that how old she is? She's 35 now?
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
I'm just flying. Like I have no idea. I have no idea how old she is. I mean, she, still looks pretty young. I don't, if you told me that she was 28, I would believe you. So yeah,
Dame just doesn't care. That's the takeaway here.
50s. Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool what she's doing. I don't know how much of what she's doing can be applied to the independent space, but she's killing it. She seemed like a decent person. I have no problem.
I think a corollary to this is Taylor Swift's career calls into question what independence really even means. And I think that's an interesting conversation. Not that we have time for it, but
that's what I was saying when we hopped on. I was like, I never even thought about it. Like, yo, she's re-releasing this, but she's signed to a label. So is her label just letting her, like, I want to dig into that now. Like, how is she re-released? Like, I'm gonna look on Spotify and see who it's being re-released under.
Because there was
gotta be a label, right?
Well, yeah, but I just saw an article. I don't believe anything that I see anymore. And it was an article from very recent, from this year, saying that Taylor Swift is independent. And I believe we spoke on this, Dame, because initially she was on an independent label. There was something.
It all says Taylor Swift. All her versions just say the label says Taylor Swift. Yo.
Oh. But
she's making a lot of money.
But even new music, though, like she doesn't just have a regular deal. I'm sure it's just like
there's some kind of partnership. I don't know. Maybe there's not. Let's look into it and revisit that, because we're at.
But people, how it's put on Spotify, like even the old stuff, like in parentheses says Taylor's version. That definitely is going to make more people click on Taylor's version. Like if you see what's this song, what's it called? 1989. That's what her album is called. Like if you see one is 1989 and then the other one right next to it is 1989 Taylor's version. Which one are you going to click on?
For sure. That's what I'm saying. It's the good marketing. She signed to UMG under Republic. So.
But I'm sure her deal is not the deal that.
No, that's what I'm saying. They said her 2019 album Lover was released on there. They haven't said nothing about these other. So I think even to get Taylor Swift, she probably was like, look, I'm coming to y'all, but y'all got to let me do this joint on my own. And they probably were like, whatever, we want you, like that's crazy.
Yeah, because the labels will take the millions now and deal with the other shit later. Yeah, there's a lot going, and then I think this certainly has implications, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe I should just take Dame's stance and just say none of it matters. But I feel like it has implications on independent artists. But this is another conversation. I don't have the energy to go through it right now. I got to still run 3 miles.
Yeah, I think I'm done with Taylor Swift combos.
All right, well, please don't eat us. We love y'all.
Aaron is you. Aaron's one of you.
No. I respect y'all, but are
you Beehive now? What fandom do you identify with right now?
Jasmine Sullivan, SZA. I identify as a fan of music and the music culture. I'm not a super fan of anybody. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a part of any hive, even Rihanna. I love her, but I'm not a part of the Navy. I'm not defending a person that I don't know. I'm not arguing with people on the internet because I like somebody's music. I don't care that much. I like your music. If you're a trash human, I'll stop listening to your music. I'm sold out to me. I'm an ATLian. That's the fan base that I'm a part of, Atlanta.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, we probably get a few extra views from the Swifties. I don't mind if the Swifties get mad. I don't care.
Y'all eat him. I respect y'all.
I did a Taylor Swift mashup that very few people know about, but this is why I know so much, because I had to listen to a lot of her music from
Repost the mashup. Let's see if it goes up this week.
It's up there somewhere, but it just got buried, and I didn't post it on my main channel because I was scared to death because it was two big songs at the same time. I'm like, this is not going on my main channel, but it's out there. It's out there. I don't know if my name's on it. I was scared, man. You don't post a Taylor Swift mashup and expect to walk away unscathed. So, in fact, strike what I just said from the record because none of that even happened. Appreciate all of you tuning in to the MEC Radio No Pain No Gain, whatever we're calling it, podcast. You know what? Drop a comment. I should have led with that. Next episode, I'm leading with that. Let us know what you think we should call our podcast. No bad names, no dumb names. Thanks.
Next week, Dame is gonna rant about y'all's comments, so make sure you.
Did we ever? Yeah.
Thoughtful about whatever you say, because Dame is coming for y'all.
Did you find the comment you wanted to address, Dame, or you want to do that next week?
I think it was about like somebody. No, this wasn't the main one, but there was one that said something like, I can't have an opinion. I can't tell people what to be congratulated for. Like, it's all an opinion, right? Like, I have an opinion on what I think people should be congratulated for. You have an opinion that I shouldn't have an opinion about what people like. It's all opinion. So so everything we talk, until we're like talking like facts from an article or our research or whatever, like we all just have opinions. So you telling me I can't have an opinion on what people should be congratulated for, I could tell you can't have an opinion on what I should have an opinion for. Like it does, like it's just an opinion. People don't understand like what is opinion, what is a fact. Like though you need to look up in the dictionary like what is a fact, what is an opinion. So yeah, people are weird. We just need to go back to some of the basics sometimes. But that wasn't the one comment that I wanted to comment on. But it's like, how can you tell me what I can have an opinion on?
Anyway. I mean, that's half the replies I get. Anyway, appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back next week. Might talk a little more about this, might not. I don't know. We'll see. Peace.